think that there are two remarkable angles. One is that during this last year and few months of this changed government, so to speak, people didn't notice that the opposition parties were out there day in and day out, going to their bases and talking about how miserable their lives have become because of this government. That without a doubt pushed huge numbers to come out. That's part one. And part two was the center-left's inability to get their act together in terms of making sure that people run together, making sure that you don't have the parties that were splitting as they were. Those two aspects are two major stories in this election.
So to follow up with that, do you think that the opposition drummed up some of that dissatisfaction, or were they really just mirroring the dissatisfaction that they saw in their voter bases? And conversely, why do you think that the coalition parties had so much trouble or I guess apathy even in response to that?
So I think in terms of your first question, it's both. People were definitely feeling consequences. The ultra-Orthodox community definitely saw decisions that were being made from this government, which they felt took away from the Jewish nature of the country and impacted them specifically. But their leaders did a very good job in pointing the finger at the government and saying the only way to respond to this is to come out and vote. And that's for the Religious Zionist Party and the Likud base as well. And in terms of the other side, there's no doubt at the center-left, I would almost use the word hubris. There's a certain feeling of, we're in the prime minister's seat, we have all these ministries, look at all that we're doing. Of course, people will see that and reward us for it without doing the hard work of putting the parties together and the retail politics in the field.
All right, well, speaking of putting the parties together, obviously, Yesh Atid chairman Yair Lapid tried to put the Meretz and Labor together for their sake. Meretz obviously is now below. Why do you think that they failed to pass, though, if they were such a mainstay for so long, though?
World to understand about Israel, and that is Israel has shifted to the right over the last number of decades. There have been so many attempts to make peace with the Palestinians, to make agreements, we pull out of areas, we do all kinds of things, and all we've been rewarded with is terror and more violence. And as a result, there's really no place for the Israeli left anymore. Everyone wants to be center. So therefore, to say we're the party that's the left-wing party, well, Israel has moved from that. Yeah. It's not popular. And therefore, that's important to understand in terms of Israeli politics.
It's only worth five seats. That's what it's worth.
At the most. Exactly. We weren't hearing a lot about bringing down the cost of living. Maybe Shas talked about it a little bit.
Which is sad, but yeah.
Correct. But part of the reason for that is government after government, and I don't believe they're bad people. I believe people do want to try to find solutions. They haven't found a solution to the cost of housing. I was part of the 19th Knesset that we had the finance minister in our party. We wanted to try to do something about it. No one is succeeding. And I think that people, sadly...
What's standing in the way?
It's difficult to give a full analysis, and I'm not an economic master to understand it. It does relates a lot to the Israel Lands Authority, that owns, I believe, 93% of the land. That has to be released and quickly, easily allow people to start building. But the one change that could happen in this government, I don't know for sure, is one solution is absolutely more construction in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank. Get cheaper housing there. That could actually help. If there's going to be any Israeli government that does it, it's going to be this government. So we'll have to see if they actually do it.
Well, so I mean, Netanyahu, and we talked a little bit about this off camera before we started. Netanyahu is hastily trying to cobble together a coalition. He's got, assuming that he will get the mandate, he'll have 28 days to finalize that, and you mentioned some of the people who are going to get certain positions. Maybe you could break that down.
Forget 28 days, Aaron. They are talking about trying to have a government ready to be sworn in by the inauguration of the Knesset on November 15th.
2 weeks from now.
November 15th. So what we're used to with the whole parade to the president's house and delays, they don't want that. They want to get this done, and they're already talking about names, such as Aryeh Deri from Shas, who will have the pick of what he wants because, remember, he's actually the second largest coalition partner because he has, let's say if it's 11 seats at the end, Religious Zionist Party is made up of many different factions.
7 and 8.
Correct, 9, 6, 7, 8. So he's very strong. They're talking about him possibly asking for the finance ministry to move up to there. Then Bezalel Smotrich, who has the Religious Zionist Party, he then will say, I want either justice or defense. Will he get justice? Likud wants justice. Itamar Ben-Gvir from the Otzma Yehudit party within religious Zionism has said he wants the internal security ministry and start to get strong in terms of people feeling secure in Israel. I don't see any possibility of him not getting it. He will stay with it. Netanyahu will have to give it to him. But all the people out there who are scared about this and what's going to happen, I do believe this government will recognize that they have to yes, act on their ideology, but do things in a more moderate fashion. Don't do anything which is going to get people scared, rile people up. And I think they might have a success in making order. No doubt that in the area of, let's say, if we're talking about police and security and prison conditions, the people of Israel understood exactly what Itamar Ben-Gvir stands for and what he wants, and people voted for it. And people all across the spectrum, by the way, on the religious spectrum for sure, they want someone, there's a fear in the streets, people feel unsafe, there's been significant numbers of terror attacks, and they feel that the thought that a terrorist, the policeman or the soldier, has to shoot at his legs instead of just killing him because he's afraid of what's going to be, what he'll face in terms of criminal action. The fact that terrorists, after they're arrested, can live very, very comfortable lives watching, I heard, watching the World Cup on TV, things like that. People feel like that's not a punishment. Now, I'm not here to say yes or no, but there is definitely at least half of Israel that would say, yes, we do believe that these people shouldn't be in what they call a country club when they're in prison. We don't mean deprive them of food. We don't mean torture them. But we do mean that it shouldn't be something where a terrorist says, you know what, if I get arrested, it's not the end of the world. I'll live out the rest of my life in a nice, comfortable place. Let them at least realize it's not going to be super comfortable. That's where Israelis are right now. So I don't think you'll have a massive outcry if that happens.
What about the idea of expelling people who are quote-unquote disloyal or anti-Zionist? I mean,
it's not going to be like that.
Where's the bar, and is that even something that can be done?
This is what I want to say before. Netanyahu is the prime minister.
Right.
Likud is in the leadership. And even though people have said Likud over the years has moved away, again, I'm quoting others, not myself, the Likud of Menachem Begin, etc., but they're not going to start expelling people from the country. But people do want to see harsh, strong action against terrorists and against people who speak out against the destruction of Israel from within. Remember, we're just a little more than a year away from an uprising in cities within Israel where Israeli Arabs were attacking Jews. People saw that and they said, wait a minute, someone has to come in and put a stop to that. And if there are going to be, we are proud to have Israeli Arab citizens of Israel. They sit in the Knesset, they have top positions. That's why all these terms of apartheid, etc., are absurd. But if Israeli Arabs are going to cross that line and start actually acting against the state of Israel and against the Jewish state of Israel, the people have spoken that they want to see action against that.
So, all right, I want to talk a little bit more about the opposition now. They seem more fractured than ever, and Dov, I know that you're chomping at the bit to
yeah, the opposition under Netanyahu, the current government essentially, they were together, they had plans of action together, they got along with each other. Let me just describe to the people who are watching. You have Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz who cannot stand one another. You have Avigdor Lieberman who hates the Arab parties who hate Avigdor Lieberman. You have the Arab parties themselves that hate one another, and you have everyone who's now against labor because they stopped the partnership with Meretz. You literally have a complete dysfunctional opposition that will have a very difficult time working together on anything.
Do they have any hope of bridging some of those divides?
Maybe some on small levels, but most of them not. And to the point that an opposition's job is to present an alternative. Right? We're the alternative when an election comes. Right now, the situation the opposition is in, based on what I just described, basically presents a scenario which already takes an already strong coalition and gives them even greater strength and the ability to say, we have 4 years, let's work, let's make the changes that we want to make.
So, well, we're going to see, of course, very soon what happens here. Dov, thank you both so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure to have this conversation. And of course, thank you all at home for watching. I'm Aaron Porras. And this was ILTV's Insider. Please tune in for more on everything Israel next time. Thank you so much. Be well. We'll see you soon.